expired. I now yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from Utah, Mr. Chaffetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here. I do appreciate it. Mr. Dodaro, I'd like to go back to your July 20th recommendations that were made specific to the personnel. You know, one of the concerns about it in Treasury is lack of leadership. You know, I just want to make sure I understand this right. The President goes out and announces this program in February, March, and they did not hire a chief home ownership preservation officer until November. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Our recommendation, as you point out, was to get the head of that office established.
I think one of the things that we want to have a response from Treasury on, you have such an important program, you got people bleeding over there. The President stands up before the American people and says this is going to happen. You can't even hire somebody until November. Now, my understanding was they made a recommendation. They needed 36 full-time equivalents into the program, and then they modified that, said, no, we only need 29. We need less resources, not more resources, but still haven't filled all 29 positions. Is that right?
That's correct.
I just don't understand that. We hear all these complaints about this program. The taxpayers have set aside tens of billions of dollars, and we can't even find 29 people to administer the program? It takes the administration 10 months to hire a leader over there? That's inexcusable, and I hope on both sides of the aisle that we hold the administration accountable for that. Let me go to the second part of my questioning here. I'm hearing a lot of numbers, and I'm not understanding the math, and clearly the metrics have not been set up at the beginning. We're dealing with a very confused situation because the leadership was not in place and didn't set these metrics up in place. Help me understand here. We've only spent $58 million of the $75 billion. Is that right?
That's correct, because payments aren't made until the trial modifications become permanent and there's a one-year anniversary of the trial modifications. Then everybody starts getting paid.
So then they get paid at that point. Okay, right. Because if you kind of do the math backwards, it was less than 400. Okay, that makes much more sense. I appreciate that. If staff could put up slide 5, if we have that. This is a letter from Timothy Geithner to Chairman Towns showing the overdue trial modifications. There are 536,084 trial modifications that have been active 4 months or more, and 287,881 trial modifications that have been active 6 months or more. Mr. Borofsky, what's causing this backlog?
Verbal modifications. This is the result of not getting fully documented income verification, full documents at the outset of the mortgage modification process. That decision is what drove up the number in GAO's chart there of the spike of getting a high number of trial modifications, but without getting that documentation up front, you see them languishing 5, 6 months because it takes that long for the documentation. Sometimes the documentation never will come, never could come, because the documents won't match up with the verbal numbers. I think that's one of the primary reasons why you see those types of backlog. Okay,
my time is short. We have votes. We obviously need more information and to ferret this out more. And then, Mr. Dodaro, this chart here, I'm looking at the source. It says cumulative figures taken from January 10, HAMP Servicer Performance Report. Monthly figures are GAO calculated using cumulative figures. If it's cumulative, why would trial modifications start to go down? If you could help clarify that for me. I see the permanent modifications continuing to go up, but if they are truly cumulative numbers, I don't understand why any number would ever come down. Monthly figures, okay.
Yeah,
it says cumulative, and I just, you can clarify that for me at some point.
I think it's calculated back from the cumulative figures, but it's on a monthly basis so that we could see the path. Okay. And I think, the point being, even though the trial modifications are going down slightly because it's now they've moved back to documented income up front, you may see a higher percentage of conversions to permanent modifications, but we'll have to wait and see.
And then finally, there was an assertion here that African Americans are 50% less likely. Why is that? What is happening here? Why would that happen? I can't remember who brought that point up in the prior.
Oh, I did. Do you want me to answer?
Yes,
that? Yeah, I mean, look, they started out with disproportionately bad loans that were, you know, the subprime high-cost lenders really targeted African-American and Latino neighborhoods. And so they're starting with just a more difficult problem in terms of having to modify those loans to begin with. And let me just say on your...
I would think that the converse would be
Gentleman's time has expired.
understood.